Nathan Zegura here with another special edition of the 2-Minute Drill brought to you by University Hospitals, this time taking a look at the offseason of the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, of course, have won the AFC North in each of the last two seasons. Last year, they went 14-2, earning the number one seed in the entire AFC. And as John Harbaugh enters his 13th season as the Ravens head coach, expectations are high in Baltimore, and for good reason. They returned the league's MVP in Lamar Jackson, who threw for 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, while rushing for a quarterback record of over 1,200 yards a year ago. They had the league's number one scoring offense, putting up over 33 points a game. They were the league's number one rushing offense, putting up over 200 yards per game. In fact, they had nearly 1,000 yards more rushing last year than the second closest team in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. So for Lamar Jackson, they did make some additions in the draft to try to help him out. In the second round, they got J.K. Dobbins. Everybody here knows him from Ohio State, where he rushed for over 2,000 yards and 20 touchdowns a year ago, averaging 7 yards per carry. He'll join Mark Ingram in the backfield. Ingram, the former Heisman winner, who rushed for over 1,000 yards himself last year, averaging over 5 yards per carry, and put up 15 total touchdowns for the Ravens. That is going to be a dynamic, elite 1-2 punch in the backfield. Last year's top wide receiver was a rookie, Hollywood Brown, nearly 600 yards, 7 touchdowns. Well, they went out and they got more speed. Devin DuVernay, the slot receiver from the University of Texas, who runs a 4.3 40, had over 100 catches and 1,000 yards a year ago. More speed around Lamar Jackson. Now, when you think about this team, though, in terms of big departures, where did they happen? Well, none bigger than that, the loss of Marshall Yanda. Yanda, widely regarded as one of the best, if not the best guards in the NFL for over a decade. 8 Pro Bowl appearances, 7 times first or second team All-Pro, a member of the NFL's All-Decade team for the 2010s. He hung up the cleats. And so what the Ravens do said, well, we need to attack this. They signed DJ Fluker this offseason and then used 2 picks in the draft. Their 3rd-round pick, Tyree Phillips. Their 4th-round pick, Ben Bredesen out of Michigan. Both guards, 2 people to try to fill the void left by Marshall Yanda. Another departure on offense, Hayden Hurst, the tight end. He was traded to the Atlanta Falcons for a 2nd-round pick. This is a team that runs a lot of 2 tight end sets. Their number 1 tight end, Mark Andrews, the leading receiver for the team from a year ago, over 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. They also have Nick Boyle. Boyle last year, similar stats to Hurst, over 300 yards, a couple of scores. He will step into that starting lineup when they go with those 2 tight end sets. So that's what the Ravens did. Just a little bit of addition on offense, not a ton, but J.K. Dobbins, that's going to be looked back as one of the big steals in this draft. Let's turn our attention now to the defensive side of the ball for the Baltimore Ravens. Last year, the Ravens were the number 4 defense in the NFL in terms of yards per game allowed. They were the number 3 scoring defense, giving up just over 17 points per game. That's right, their average margin of victory last year, nearly 16 points per game. They only had 37 sacks, something they wanted to address. So what do? They go out and they trade a 5th rounder for Calais Campbell. Campbell, a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's been in the Pro Bowl each of the last 3 seasons, and he has 31.5 sacks over the last 3 years. They also signed Derek Wolfe, who had a career-high 7 sacks last year for the Denver Broncos. Now, the team has been looking. You know the Ravens, they got the great middle linebacker. It was Ray Lewis, then it was C.J. Mosley. Well, they think they got their guy in the draft this year. Patrick Queen, the 1st rounder out of LSU. He can run, stop, he can cover, he can do it all, a 3-down player. The team also made some more moves at linebacker in the draft in the 3rd round, selecting Ohio State's Malik Harrison to kind of add to that room, more of a run stopper, but they get 2 young, talented linebackers from big-time college programs. Now, the team also made a couple moves keeping key guys. Linebacker Matt Judon, who led the team in sacks last year with 9.5, he signs the franchise tag. And they bring back Jimmy Smith, the corner, on a 1-year deal. You think about this secondary, one of the best in the NFL. Earl Thomas, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Chuck Clark, Tavon Young. That is the strength of this Ravens defense. When it comes to the key losses on defense, there really weren't many. They lost nose tackle Michael Pierce, one of the best run stoppers in the NFL. He goes to Minnesota. They also let veteran Brandon Carr, the cornerback, go, who had started every game for the Ravens, who really lost his role once Marcus Peters was brought in mid-season. So there it is. This Ravens team, they just keep adding. Getting Calais Campbell, that's going to be looked at as a huge move. A fifth rounder, bringing him in to add to an already great defense. They're the favorites to win the AFC North again for a very good reason. But the Browns, they've split with the Ravens each of the last 2 years. And they'll be facing the Ravens this year. Week 1, season opener on the road in Baltimore before Week 14 at home, Monday Night Football, the Browns and the Ravens. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the 2-Minute Drill brought to you by University Hospitals.